Thank you, Mr. President. As the person who was Speaker and Majority Leader through those horrible 1990s, when we got in all this trouble, I'd just like to maybe put a different spin on it. First off, I do want to say that Governor Florio is the last governor to fully fund the pensions. And I say this tongue-in-cheek, Governor. I was part of the group that was not particularly pleased with the governor's tax increases and so on, but I always say this, we didn't retract them, do we, Governor? We're still reaping some of the benefits from Governor Florio, and that's coming from someone from the other side of the aisle. Now, just as a little background, I have 4 children, all in education. So, and I myself am a retired educator. When Governor Whitman, and at that time I was the majority leader, when she skipped that payment for, ironically, $2.8 billion, which is what Governor Florio had raised when he was governor, at that time, many of the people, including labor and so on, felt because the economy was so good, we'd be able to do this. And local municipalities, counties and all were for it also because they didn't have to pay in that year because $2.8 billion was not asked for all these entities. But what happened? Stock market fell apart, and in retrospect, it was a bad move. But I will say this, the next 3 years in the budgets, of which I was the Speaker, we put money in each year to bring back that $2.8 billion. Now, I'm not a finger pointer, but the last year that it was just about paid off, a new governor took over and never put that money in. So that's where we are. Now, I am the sponsor of the bill that reduced the retirement age, and the one who increased, which I used to laugh at with Governor Christie, who was a friend of mine, would be attacking this bill, as you alluded to, Senator, increased the amount of money which was put into the pension and reduced the retirement age. Let me tell you why I did it. In retrospect, it doesn't look good. But at the time, I was a genius. And here's what happened. The experts on money felt that it could be done. It was going to be shaky, but it could be done. My thought, and I can look you all in the eye and tell you, my thought was, as we reduce the retirement age, more people would retire, which would open up opportunities for young people to come into not just the education world, but also other public unions, etc. Now, sort of happened, many people got jobs through then, but as we look at it now, it was a difficult time, and of course now the retirement age moved back up to whatever it is now. But I always chuckle because, Governor, just as we never took back your ideas, when Governor Christie used to moan about that increase in pensions, it never came back out. So I always smiled when he did that. Now, the reason, again, there's the thought process. And as the senators just said, whether it's marijuana or minimum wage, I'm not whining now, I'm a big boy, but it's tough, folks. It's tough to judge what's going to happen and so on. The last thing I'll say, and this is where I like you are now, Senator, we've talked about it. When I was leaving office, I said to the head of the statewide union, not the teachers union, but the other public employees, I said, listen, we're going to run into trouble in the future, maybe sooner than later, on the amount of money in our pension system. New people coming in have to go on a different system, which is what you're suggesting now. Now, I said that 17 years ago. And in defense of the union leader, his feeling was union members have to be treated equally. If you're in, you get the benefits. If you come in, you get the benefits. So I don't know where you're going to go with it, but I did feel, in all honesty, I'm the no good rat that was in charge when all these horrible things happened in the 90s. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And you know, you clearly, I You know, clearly I don't feel that way, you know that. It's just, you know, remember in the 2000s, 2001 and 2008, we had serious market corrections. And again, that happens and affects pensions. The difference is, in the private sector where I live, we have to make the changes when we see it. We don't have a choice. We either increase contribution or we, see, Speaker, in all honesty, here's the difference. Not you, but the system not being willing to make the changes that have to be made in order to restore the pension. Because we have a thing called an assumption rate. And an assumption rate is what you assume your pension is going to make year in and year out. Well, unfortunately, we had a high assumption rate. It was 8 1/4. And it's great if you can hit that, but if you don't hit the assumption rate, then you come up short. So these are just numbers. So if I'm short what I got to pay, and every single year, and in the 2000s to 2010, the average increase was 2%, if you average it out, when we were at 7 and almost 8 1/4. So realize when you go all that time, and each year you're coming up 8 1/4 short, well, it's not too hard to figure out, and you're not putting any extra money in, it's not too hard to figure out, you're going to go broke. And that's what happened. But yes, sir.